Great country, I'll tell you. Thank you. Are we going to? What are you doing up here? I brought the word about the bears. Now listen, you know, feet, all right? Bob heard a little thing, and he caught these small little snotting striping bass. You know, and there you got 3 small little snots like that, and he says he won. Well, technically he did, but I was fishing for big fish. I was fishing for fish, and not those little things. But he won. Played a little fast and loose with the goals, I think. But my cap was going to make national TV. I don't have. I didn't expect the perfect was good. Well, I expected him to do a little bit better than that, but he won. He won. But they were jet too, and I don't know. The eyes already wiping.
Hi, Alice. How are you?
Oh, very fine. Thank you so very much for being here. Great to be here. How are you?
Governor, Matt puts here.
The nicest duty I've had all day, I'll tell you. Think how many times you'll be pacing up in this trap horse.
Catching fish.
You can handle it, right? When Wisconsin's governor and Minnesota's governor stood here at the very same time to discuss this river, basically the Mississippi River and the combined sewer overflow problem that was coming out of the Twin City area. It was also at this very site where the governor of Minnesota then made an announcement of their attempts and what they would attempt to do in the cleanup factor. And that all came about as a pressure that was put on by the state of Wisconsin. So at this point, the decisions were announced. It's also pleasing to announce they're slightly behind schedule, but at the same time they are accomplishing the task, and within relatively short years, we should see that combined sewer overflow problem corrected. Compliments go to a lot of people in the state agencies, the Minnesota-Wisconsin Boundary Commission, and several other people that have been involved through the years in getting that to happen. So we're glad that this is indeed a spot where we seem to have a reason to attract governors of Wisconsin and of Minnesota. With that, we certainly want to welcome Governor Thompson here today, and for the particular purpose of the jurisdictional transfer in Great River Road and with Q&A transfer to Highway 35. And so we welcome those people that are here for this. While I have the moment of attention, I would make it known that from this, as soon as this event is finished, Governor and I and whoever will follow will walk along the river, and we'll be stopping at the corner where the new bridge will enter Prescott and by the Prescott Library. From that point, those who have tickets are invited to proceed to the steamboat, and you'll be registered at the desk as we go in. With that, again, welcome to Governor Thompson for coming to Prescott and for this particular event. I think it goes without any further introduction to introduce to you Governor Thompson and ask for his remarks. Governor? change. We'll always wait to hear the governor. Ron Fiedler, Secretary of Department of Transportation, would like to make his remarks first, so we'll ask him to do that. Ron?
Thank you very much, Mayor. It's certainly a pleasure to be here. I was here a little late, and I'm sorry I did get here late, but Roy Finley wanted to take me down the road to show me what needed to be done now that the state's going to take over ownership. And Roy is always a great one to help get another buck in the area. So you did a good job, Roy. It's a great addition to the state trunk highway system. I just, as I said, drove down the road. And I think that just for the sake of the record, I want to commend the counties for what they've done and to be a partner in this jurisdictional transfer. I want to commend the city of Prescott here because of their support for the Great River Road concept, which and what they've done. Because the Great River Road really means a whole lot to the state of Wisconsin. I've been involved in Great River Road activities back in the 70s when I was district engineer down in the southern part of the state in the Madison office, and we worked closely with Grant County down there. And as a matter of fact, as Roy and others may know, my dad was involved in the Great River Road many years ago when he worked in the La Crosse office. And so it's a great opportunity for me, and I really appreciate the opportunity to come up here and be part of this jurisdictional transfer. And what we're doing is transferring county trunk highways for state trunk highway, and we'll have the state trunk highway now, Highway 35. Marty, where's Marty? It's going to be signed as of when? The first of the year? First of the year we'll make the actual signing of the highway, and so Highway 35 will be on the Great River Road, will run concurrently in this area south of the community. It's we in the state have been in real partnership with local units of government. And as most of you know, in the past with the federal government, they've also contributed a significant amount of money so that we could make these improvements along the Great River Road. So it's really been a partnership arrangement, something that the governor has certainly been preaching for the last year and a half as we come out and work with local units of government, cities and counties, the state and the federal government. It's really a partnership, and what we're doing here today is really a partnership as we make this jurisdictional transfer, which I'm sure is in the interest of the county, it's in the interest of the city, it's in the interest of the state of Wisconsin. But best of all, it's interesting in the public. And the public will have the Great River Road marked really where it should be on the state trunk highway system in this area on Highway 35. So with that, I want to say congratulations. It's just great to be a partner in the whole process here, and great to be out here today on this beautiful day. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Secretary Fiedler. I wanted Secretary Fiedler to go first because Secretary Fiedler sometimes gets co-opted into agreeing to pick up more money on some of the roads than what we can afford. And so I have to make sure I come last to make sure that he hasn't done that. But it's an honor for me to be here. I certainly have appreciated the last couple days that we have had in western Wisconsin. They have just been a tremendous opportunity for us to get to know the people in this area better, to listen to your concerns, and to just have the opportunity to look at this beauty. You individuals certainly are blessed with an abundance of natural resources and some of the most beautiful scenery any place in the world, and we are very fortunate to have this in Wisconsin, and you people are so fortunate to live in this very beautiful area. I am sorry, however, that I let you down last night playing softball. We lost there. Very sorry that I let you down again today when we lost to the state of Minnesota fishing. But I want to make sure that you understand that I was understanding that the rules were such that we were going to go out and fish for walleyes, legal-sized walleyes, and northerns. And so we were out throwing artificial bait and hopefully trying to catch a large one, because I thought that was the nature of the fishing contest. But Governor Purpridge took some worms and a small hook and a bobber and fished along the side and caught 3 little snotting fish like that. And they were fish, but they weren't alive when he brought them in. And he won, but I had to question the rules and regulations of that fishing contest. And we've challenged them again. And we also had the very nice afternoon, and we have agreed to meet in October in St. Paul and discuss the Mississippi River and the St. Croix River as to what we can do to better it and improve the quality, which I think is a tremendous step forward. And then he will be coming to Madison in March, and we'll carry on our dissertation and dialogue again
so that we will work together as two states to improve the quality and the use of the Mississippi River and the St. Croix River. In a statistical way, however, the Mississippi River certainly invites superlatives about its length, the area drained, the flowage, and the navigation. The truth about the Mississippi River and the Great River Road that runs alongside it for some 1,500 miles is that it's one of tourism's best kept secrets. We plan to do something about it. One of Wisconsin's earliest highway planners, Martin Torgelson of Madison. And so the best things always come from Wisconsin. In 1908, he proposed a parkway and developed a plan for preserving the natural beauty and the assets of the Great River Road. He recognized the area as something special that ought to be preserved for the enjoyment of future generations. But it was not until 30 years later, in 1938, that the United States Congress appropriated the first funds to study the area and to develop the idea that has become the Great River Road. So the idea of the Great River Road was actually started in Wisconsin by a gentleman by the name of Martin Torgelson, who had the vision and the understanding that this area was indeed blessed and that it should be preserved at all costs. It is fitting here tonight that we gather in Prescott in this park for this ceremony. The park was developed over many years with funds appropriated for Great River development. In fact, Wisconsin has virtually completed the list of developments that were planned along our portion of the Great River Road. Today we're celebrating the transfer of 2 county roads to the state highway jurisdiction and the companion transfer of Highway 183 to county ownership. We're here to accept the highway corridor of County E and Q that will be renumbered Wisconsin Highway 35, which is synonymous with the Great River Road in Wisconsin. These roads have served as the Great River Road corridor for several years. It is my pleasure as governor to formally accept jurisdiction on behalf of the citizens of Wisconsin for the benefit of the people who will visit the Great River Road in the future. We're also, ladies and gentlemen, observing the 50th anniversary of the Mississippi River Parkway, better known as the Great River Road. I think this is of particular significance here in Wisconsin because of the tremendous work that the Wisconsin Parkway Commission has done in the past 50 years. When you drive the Great River Road, and if you haven't, I urge you to do so, you see the major improvements that have come about because of this tremendous commission. I think, ladies and gentlemen, that it goes without saying that we have not done enough to promote it. And that's why I've instructed the Department of Natural Resources, Division of Tourism, headed by my good friend and your friend as far as promotion and tourism, Dick Matty, and Secretary of the Department of Transportation, Ron Fiedler, to see what can be done to develop a more comprehensive plan to develop the parkway as well as to promote for tourism and for the promotion of all of the people, as many people as possible, to see this great, beautiful area. It is a pleasure to be here to participate in this occasion. It's a pleasure for me to be in Prescott and to listen to the concerns of the people of this area and to thank you for your support. Thank you for the partnership that we're developing. We have many of the leaders from state government here to listen to your concerns, to talk over those concerns with you, and hopefully we can increase our cooperation in the future. I know that's going to happen, but also give you an opportunity to call us in Madison with your problems and to have you have a better understanding of what's going on in state government. That's why we're here, to develop that partnership with local units of government, the partnership that Ron Fiedler was talking about, a partnership that's going to make Wisconsin the #1 state in the country. I sincerely believe that. I think we have the natural resources, the highly skilled workforce, the great educational system to make it happen. We want all of the Prescotts to develop and enjoy the quality of life throughout the state of Wisconsin. That's why we're here, to bring government closer to the people and to respond to your concerns. It's a delight to be here, and with this new addition, we're going to have one of the most beautiful scenic drives in all of the United States. And I hope everybody has the privilege and the opportunity to see it. Thank you so very much.
Thank you, Governor, for those remarks. And I think so many times those of us who do live on the river do fail to recognize what a beautiful area
I thought
we do
Elmwood
have.
was the center of the world, but I've learned now that it's Prescott.
Keep thinking that way. I would also like to tell you that we would like to have this Great River Road Park amenity be green, but you forgot to arrange for the rain, so it's as it is. At the same time, you mentioned with the governor of Minnesota, I would also like to tell you that it's not the first time that we've been aware that Minnesota has changed the rules for us. With that, I'd like to call on Ray Anderson on behalf of the Pierce County Board to make some remarks again in regard to the Great River Road. Ray?
It was a struggle on the county board to effect the transfer of 183 for E&Q, and most of the opposition came from the people in the eastern part of the county. And the board knew that as long as 183 remained a state highway, that the district highway office gave it such a low priority that the road would remain for a long, long time in basically the same state as you see it today. Now, because of the transfer, we have $2.5 million coming from the state. We can use this, and we'll get 75% matching funds from the federal government. And over a period of years, those people in the eastern part of the county are going to see a significant improvement in that road, which now will be a county road. Referring to the E&Q, the transfer, I am presenting on behalf of the Pierce County Board of Supervisors the official Great River Road route marker sign to Governor Thompson. And indeed, this is a great honor. As you accept this official Great River Road route marker on behalf of the people of Wisconsin, we in Pierce County wish to impress upon you that it now becomes the obligation of the state of Wisconsin to treat the segment of this Great River Road with the same care and affection that we did when it was County Road E&Q. We used a lot of county money. We were successful in getting federal aid to the Great River Road funding to upgrade this highway. In allocating funds from our county budget, we placed a high priority on E&Q, and we were successful in getting significant improvements in this highway system. We also were successful in getting cooperation from several state agencies in this project. And so we ask you, as governor of the state, to both encourage and enable the Department of Transportation, the Department of Tourism and Industrial Development, the Department of Natural Resources, and the Historical Society of Wisconsin to continue their partnership with Pierce County in the future development of the Great River Road. Governor Thompson, I'm very pleased to present you with this official marker.
County Board Chairman Ray Anderson, I can. Vice Chairman.
Well, the chairman isn't here. You're the chairman. I would like to say that you've already heard what Secretary Fiedler and I have said. We will appropriate the necessary money. We will have a coordinated effort from the agencies that you have mentioned, because that is our objective as the same as yours. We want this to be improved. We want it to be one of the finest pieces of scenic highways ever built, ever maintained in the country. And you have my pledge on that. You have Ron Fiedler's pledge on that. You have Dick Matty, and you have Buzz Besadny. And anytime you have the Department of Natural Resources here to help you, you take it. Mr. Anderson, and we are here to make sure that that promise is kept, and we will do everything possible to make it a reality. Thank you.
Thank you again, and thanks for that presentation. Bruno Maurer, the Secretary of the Department of Development, has a few remarks for us. Bruno?
Civic leaders, also city and county, I should add, thank you very much for this opportunity. Not only is it a beautiful day, it's a beautiful opportunity that I think we are all sharing here this late afternoon. And as I look about the town of Prescott and I see what is really going on, I see a major part of Wisconsin really beginning to renovate the process of preserving the old, adding some new, adding some real flavor to what this part of the state really is all about. And I see the old red brick buildings here in the riverfront town that this was, and I see that preservation still holding firmly, frankly, as to the past, but also beginning to move into the future. I think those are beautiful combinations that are taking place, and on behalf of the Department of Development, I thank all of you for being a critical part of what the future of Wisconsin is really all about. So, on behalf of economic development, on behalf of jobs, on behalf of, yes, your future, and on behalf of what we hope we all represent as good and right in the state of Wisconsin, thank you all very, very much for being a critical part of this very nice initiative. Thank you.
Thank you. Richard Maddy, the Director of the Department of Development Division of Tourism, is with us also today, and would ask him to make a couple of remarks.
Very pleased to be here. And I guess, along with everything else that's been said, to sum it up, when you look at a waterway like the Great Mississippi that affords the shipping and the beauty even from the locks that control that shipping, and you look at all the fishery available from that great river, and then look at the Great River Road that lies alongside and allows the visitor, the tourist, the vacationer, to view that beautiful river, the bluffs that overlook, and to see the sunset is something that we want, not only all Wisconsinites, but people across this country to come and visit. And to cap the day, if you haven't, to see a beautiful American bald eagle soaring in the blue skies above that great river along the Great River Road is a great day to cap a day. And we will do everything we can to see that folks get to enjoy that kind of a day. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
A large number of people here today that mean a lot to us, and have a few comments remarks to make. At this time, then, I would call on John Edmond, the Executive Secretary of the Mississippi River Parkway, to make some comments.
Paul, Minnesota. I'm here with Andy Golfus also as reinforcement. In light of today's fishing contest, Governor, I'm not sure I want to admit that I'm from that state, but nevertheless, I'm here representing the National Mississippi River Parkway Commission, and as many of you know, 1988 marks the 50th anniversary of the Mississippi River Parkway Commission. Since that time, over $257 million have been spent in the 10 states and the province of Ontario on various highway improvements and amenity developments associated with the Great River Road. The 10 states and the province of Ontario are continuing this effort to develop the Great River Road, but we're also involved in many exciting new programs. Programs such as an international marketing program of the 10 Mississippi River states and the province of Ontario. We're involved with a Mississippi River Fair program in Japan this fall. We're working with our congressional delegation from the 10 Mississippi River states to designate the Mississippi River as a National Heritage Corridor. We're very excited about all these efforts throughout our past 50 years and what we foresee to happen in the future. We could not have done that without the cooperation of all 10 Mississippi River states. Wisconsin has long been a leader among the Mississippi River Parkway Commission states, and we're proud to have them as a participating member of our organization. Governor, in recognition of the 50th anniversary of the Mississippi River Parkway Commission, on behalf of our pilot, or president, we call them pilots, I'm not sure why, Dan Derby's from Baton Rouge, Louisiana, I'd like to present you with this small token of our appreciation and appreciation of participation in the Mississippi River Parkway Commission on the Great River Road.
For somebody from Minnesota, you're not all that bad, John. Thank you so very much, and thank you for all of the hard work that you've done to make this a reality. Thank you.
Prescott for years. He has represented us in lots of ways and lots of times and lots of places. I would warn the gentleman before I call him up that you have exactly 30 seconds. And from that point, you may handle whatever. With that, we need a big round of applause for Alan Roy Finley.
To be up here before you people and see what we've done on this program of the Parkway and the Parkway Commission. If it hadn't been for the DOT and the thoughts of former people that were interested in it, this would have never got off the ground. Talking about Minnesota, a few years ago we were down here when the two governors met over here, And I thought we had a real good meeting on it. Looking at the Mississippi and the pollution that has been coming down through here, we live downriver from the Twin City area. But we're hoping that it'll be cleaned up before too awful long. Thanks a lot. I've used my 2 minutes here. It's a pleasure being here. And someday I'm going to live long enough to see the development on this Great River Road, and I'm going to see the development on the bridge. So if I don't think I'm going to have to change my way of living, but I'm going to keep right on living. Thanks a lot.
Tom Leverage. Tom, the Executive Director, would like to, to make a few remarks for us.
Is when I come to these meetings is to ask, are there any rats here? Do I see if there's a few hands around here? The governor's not a rat, though, is he? I don't think he is. One of my rare offices that I hold is known as the chief rat of all Mississippi River rats. Believe it or not, there is such an organization. And today, since the governor chose to come up here and fish on the Mississippi River and show his face up in this country, which apparently he's not ashamed to do, I would like to present to him something on behalf of all rats to recognize the fact that he is head of the state of Wisconsin, which is the home of fine cheese and the home of the Mississippi River Rats organization. And with that thought in mind, he's the biggest wheel I think that's here. I want to give him a helmsman's wheel, which reads the 1986 Wheel of Authority. It's spelled with a R-A-T. To Tommy G. Thompson, the honorary governor rat of all Mississippi River rats, but he better do better in the next fishing contest.
Thank you very much, Tom. It's not often that somebody gets up and calls the governor a big rat, but I really appreciate that, Tom. I had the honor to, when I was growing up many years ago, to serve as an assistant to Tom's father, who was a state senator, who I admired a great deal, Earl Leverage. I don't know if anybody in the audience remembers Senator Leverage, but he was an outstanding, distinguished state senator who led the fight and kept Wisconsin from having colored oleo in the state of Wisconsin. And he was a farmer, and he fought harder for the farming interests in the state than any other person I met. So every time I get a chance to see Tom Leverage, and thank you so very much for this, it brings back the memory of your great father.
The last time we were on a program together, there were 4 distinguished politicians, and at the end of the presentation, in came a drunk. I don't know what that meant, but it wasn't the governor, I know that.
Thank you so very much.
That concludes our remarks at the riverfront. With that, then, we will walk along the river as long as for those that would like to, and stop again at the library. So I thank you for coming to this portion of the program as we continue on.
The area residents, because they were very good.
special thank you to Tom's TV, Mr. Tom Thone. Just a few seconds ago you saw the speaker down at the park, and for whatever reason it was able to get right up here. What I intend to do at this point, Mr. Governor, is make a point to you or illustrate to you what it is that we have for concern. You are standing in nearly the location of the new Highway 10 bridge. We have extreme concern of what that does to our facility. We had planned for some time that this might be a location where we could add to the library. At the same time, we took the liberty to put approximately an orange mark on the grass that would indicate about the curb line. So if you see right down here in front, that's where the curb line of the new bridge will exist. The highway right-of-way is 2.5 feet from our particular building. Department of Transportation has done their job, I would say, in terms of the bridge and the design and the location. We are left now with a possible problem that we want to address, and we would hope that the state government will take the time to look at. I would like to propose to you that we do realize that no matter what happens, we do have to move the library from the site. The door is open to see already we are crowded. The librarians are here, and the library board is around to address the issue and speak to you if you would. One consideration that I would like to say, and I'll be mentioning that again later at the steamboat, it would seem that for an entrance of Wisconsin to be so many feet away from a poor-looking red-painted brick wall is less than an entrance to the state. And what we would like to propose, what we would like to propose is that the state would see fit to work out an agreement with us to remove this particular portion, which has been an addition that was made later in years. The other part is historic, and we would defend that all the way. But this particular side is not, and is a recent addition. It could be removed, which would provide a space that could now be the entrance to Wisconsin. Our fear is that with the new bridge coming so close to us, it almost puts us out of operation as far as the city government. We know that the library is gone, and that we would like to see a much better look as we enter Wisconsin. If it could be removed, the entrance to the state and the state sign could be in this location, because especially with the new Highway 35 coming in, there is not anything that says you are in Wisconsin. The present sign to welcome you to Wisconsin is far up the road, so as you come into Prescott, you have no idea you've even entered the state. So with a little effort, with a little planning, with obviously a few bucks from wherever they can be reached, we think we could have a much better approach to Wisconsin. We know we could have a much better facility for a library, and we know we have to make some changes, and we would certainly ask that the state considers more participation than at least we've seen at this point. So I present those issues to you. I would ask if anybody from the Library Association has some remarks and some things they would like to say, and I would ask Alice Heckel to come up and make any comments or introduce any people that she might like. Alice, would you step forward, please?
Well, I might say that anybody that wants to see if we need room should just walk in the library. And we're really concerned about what we're going to do about this situation. I think maybe Tom Duffy, would you come over here? I think maybe Tom could tell you a few things.
I don't know I didn't know I was supposed to tell you anything, and I'm not sure I can. The only thing is, I know that this town needs a library, needs it badly. We need space. You go into this room, and you have books on the floor, books in the ceiling almost. You can't find too much. The librarians know which pile to move to get that one underneath once in a while. Just go out and look it over. We're going to need this space, and we have to be involved in the historical part too. And we're interested in that other building over there. We're not interested in this building. You can take this down, but we need another one to replace it.
First off, I did not know that this problem existed until you sprung it on me. I can say that you are very effective in bringing your point to my attention. I can't imagine how fast or how much you pay that individual to bring the microphone up there. You could have talked to me coming up the roadway instead of calling everybody here. That's called subtle pressure. But
Governor Thompson and all honored guests, It is indeed an honor to stand before all of you and talk about a few things that involve western Wisconsin and Prescott tonight. As Mr. Garrity said, it's not like I haven't had an opportunity before, and I'm sure that some of you may wish that it may be shorter, but I assure you that I will take my time. Mr. Governor, as I welcome you to this area, I would like you to certainly acknowledge the fact that we like to make use of so many times, and as we heard you say a little earlier down in Mercury Mill Park, that we are standing at the point where the St. Croix meets the Mississippi, and where we have an opportunity to use it ourselves to entertain other people and expect them to use it, and perhaps we don't begin to realize how valuable it is to our area and how privileged we are to have it here. There were many preparations that it took to prepare for tonight. We had a lot of people doing their thing to help improve the city of Prescott, and although we were already great, it always has a little spots where we can tidy up, and we had to do a few rakings and a few cleanings and that sort of thing to make the city better for you. We do have a great city, and we are privileged to have you here. And one of the other things that it took in terms of planning, as you many times hear, is how to set the table and how to turn it and what shape and whatever. We had that problem for you, Mr. Governor, because we weren't quite sure if we should have you face to St. Croix, if we should have you face Wisconsin and turn your back to Minnesota, if we should turn you around so you face Minnesota and turn your back to Wisconsin. Well, it really wasn't that difficult, because we decided obviously to have you face Wisconsin and to face western Wisconsin. It is so often heard in our area that we ought to secede from the state of Wisconsin because everything we hear is from Minnesota. Everything we do seems to center around Minnesota, and certainly Prescott recognizes itself as being part of the St. Paul, Minneapolis metropolitan area. So as a result of that, there are a lot of times the question, do we belong to the state of Wisconsin, and is Madison really our governing area? It is only with my compliments to you, Governor Thompson, for taking the time and the energies to bring Madison to Prescott, to western Wisconsin, so that we too might share in those privileges that are so often seem to be centered around Madison and Milwaukee. It is certainly not that we do not see parts of Wisconsin, and with your administration, I suspect that in the last while we have seen a great deal more of Wisconsin in our area. So it wasn't very long ago that Mr. Grover, our state school superintendent, was present in this very facility for our retirement party, and we welcome him back as well again tonight. It wasn't very long ago that in the lower level of this very facility that Mr. Hodge from the State Insurance Commissioner was here for a luncheon and presented that information, and a delightful luncheon and time with him that it was. It isn't very long ago that, in fact, again within the last month, that Mr. John Torpy from the Division of Health was present in Prescott to work with a problem situation in the Prescott nursing home. So with those, certainly your staff has been around, and we recognize them for that valuable time and for that assistance. The state of Wisconsin is indeed a great state, and I'm certainly proud to be part of that state. I noticed it about a week ago when the family vacationed in Hawaii, and it was quite evident that people knew where Wisconsin was. They even were aware of our drought, and they asked how things were and how the farmers were doing and that sort of thing. So certainly there are things about Wisconsin that are recognizable all over the nation, and we respect that kind of image that seems to be part of Wisconsin. The problems for city, county, and state are many, but they can be worked out with good open communications and a lot of reduced bureaucracy. If I may leave a few messages for Madison from the local government and from the city, I might speak to you about several of the following kinds of issues. I would certainly want to make a point that western Wisconsin is indeed a very extreme, important kind of area to the state. We have a great deal of potential and a lot of future. Prescott is indeed part of the metro area of Minneapolis, St. Paul, and therefore Madison must look at our needs in determining what needs to be done as a border community and the relationships and the problems that we have with a border state. We speak of tourism in the state, and we certainly want to be part of, and there was a good conference earlier about tourism in the lower level of this building this afternoon, and we certainly support tourism. But then there are some things about tourism that we say that we really need to do, and some things that were addressed this afternoon. One of the things that is unique is that we say we want tourism, we want excursion boats, we want to make use of our river. At the same time, we make certain that if the boat does not have a carrying capacity of 100, that we will not license it for few cocktails in the state of Wisconsin. And we tell that particular boat that they must go to Minnesota, where they have no trouble getting that license. And so we send that tourism across the way. Along with tourism, we speak sometimes about the kinds of beaches and the services that can be provided. We find it rather interesting that in the state of Wisconsin that we do not permit the sand dredge to be placed on our shores. Minnesota gladly takes it, and we see those tourists go over to Minnesota. At the same time, we have found it very unique that the marinas have a difficult time getting a permit in Wisconsin. They have very little difficulty getting that permit in Minnesota, so we send them across the river. We say that as a state, we are against drunk driving. We take that opportunity to take whatever action to do that. Yet, at the same time, we turn that around and we say that our bars can stay open until 2:30. With that particular opportunity, we take away local option so that in Prescott and the border community, we now have to deal with the problem of those people coming from Minnesota after 1 o'clock to Wisconsin. We decrease our revenue sharings. We defray reimbursement payments. We pass laws that increase local costs. And then we produce statistics that say local taxes are rising too fast. We send state mediators to negotiate and work out costs for labor negotiations, as happened in Prescott. Then we turn around and we send a state arbitrator to tell the city that the state mediator was wrong and it's going to cost you more. With that, I only can thank you, Governor Thompson, for taking some issues and working already on arbitration. We passed NR 118 river bills to protect the river, which I certainly agree with. At the same time, in doing so, we passed an area that prevents the city of Prescott from expanding and having the NR 118 district some areas that could never be seen from the river, no matter what we would do. We prevent fires and we try to prevent pollution. At the same time, we allow Burlington Northern and other railroads to burn their railroad ties and pollute our air with creosote. We allow them to build bridges that have levels of noise pollution that we can't tolerate. But we get awfully excited when there's one complaint that somebody burned something in a burning barrel, as recently happened in Prescott. We pass a lot of legislation to benefit higher population areas, but may I remind everyone that the great potential is probably in western Wisconsin. I learned a long time ago that if you say something bad or something wrong, that you must also say something good. And certainly with that, I want to make it very clear that Wisconsin has done more than its share for our community as well as others. We have worked hard for industrial growth. We have had extremely great support from the Department of Development, from NSP and lots of other agencies in working with particular kinds of industrial growth and industrial expansion. We certainly appreciate that, and we know that there we get the act the other way, because the climate that's created by the state of Wisconsin is much better here than it is across the river. We have a strong educational system, and I'm sure that our local school superintendent, Carol Lehman, would be happy to discuss that with Mr. Grover and with you. But we are very proud of our schools in Prescott, and we are very proud of the support that the state government offers in that area. We have very responsible local state representatives who try very hard and meet long hours and work very hard for our community, and we're proud of Mr. Burnt and Mr. Hartzog. We recognize that Prescott needs a new bridge and that Highway 10 in Wisconsin and all that have a very strong need for that particular bridge. We do have some suggestions about that and some that we made earlier and some recommendations that I would like to continue to pursue. The state made available Great River Road. Prescott has taken more than probably its advantage of that. We have a lot of amenities at Great River Road. We're proud of those. We did our share. The state and the Department of Transportation certainly worked well with that. We're proud of the Boundary Commission and the work that they did along with myself and the city of Prescott for the combined sewer overflow problems from Minneapolis, St. Paul, South St. Paul, and they helped us greatly to clean up that river. The topic that we discussed earlier with Governor Thompson, and I would like to address that for the rest of you, is that with the new bridge and the new construction, we are indeed the entrance to Wisconsin. We would like to take some efforts and work with the state of Wisconsin in pursuing that entrance and making it look like an entrance and not an exit. We have US 10, which is now the location of the Welcome to Wisconsin stand that you see up here on Highway 10. What's unique about that is you enter Prescott and then you enter Wisconsin. And so we would like to get that moved. We would like you to recognize indeed that you enter Wisconsin and then you come to Prescott. Along with those that saw that dedication this afternoon and saw that Highway 35 is now coming into Prescott on Great River Road, we would like in some way to acknowledge to those people that choose to come across the bridge and turn southward on 35 to be as well welcome to Wisconsin. I propose that we meet with whatever state agencies necessary, that we take whatever necessary to create the space by removal of part of a building, and we take some time and some energies to plan an entrance to Wisconsin, indeed an entrance to western Wisconsin, so that we can encourage that kind of traffic. All citizens, we hear, want lower taxes. Not unique, and we hear it very loud and very clear at tax time. In between taxes, we hear more and more requests for more and more services. And I know I'm not talking only about Prescott, but I'm talking about the state as well. We certainly know that as a city and as a state, we have to look at all of those appetites, what we can afford, what brings us that growth and that advantage, and perhaps the economic opportunity that might not be here otherwise. I can only lay out my heart to all of those people who are so willing to volunteer so much for Prescott, for the state. Our city and our country indeed works on volunteerism. If it were not for that, we would not be able to get all of the participation that we get. It is with this cooperation with the state government, with the local governments, with conversations with the cut of the bureaucracy that we indeed can accomplish some of those kinds of things. I know, Mr. Governor, that with your efforts to get state government to all parts of this great state, that we shall all feel more at home. Thanks, Tommy, if I may, for coming to us and listening and making us feel part of Wisconsin. Thank you all.
I checked the old blue books to check on the biographical information of Governor Thompson. For those of you who don't know, the blue books are is a very interesting state publication which comes out every 2 years, and it dates back to our territorial days, and it has statistics and information about all matters related to Wisconsin government, including those individuals who serve us in a representative capacity. When I was doing that in our office, we have most of the old blue books, and I, just out of curiosity, grabbed the blue book from 100 years ago and looked up the city of Prescott, and it was fascinating. Prescott was described as a community at the junction of the St. Croix and Mississippi rivers. It had stagecoach service to River Falls 3 times a week. It was noted that the Chicago, St. Paul, Minneapolis, and Omaha railroads provided service to Ellsworth. Blue Book didn't tell how people got from Prescott to Ellsworth, but that's where you went with the train. By contrast, I ask you to consider the fact that in Manhattan, at the turn of the century, in an effort to cross the island by horse and buggy or just horse, the average speed per hour was 7 miles per hour. Today, the average speed to cross Manhattan per hour via automobile remains at 7 miles per hour. We in Prescott, we in Pierce County and the western part of Wisconsin have the best of both worlds. Pierce County's economic development and growth is monitored and spearheaded by the Pierce County Economic Development Corporation. Its main office is located in North Hall at the University of Wisconsin River Falls. The corporation is well served by a diverse and dedicated board of directors who are civic and community leaders, and the day-to-day business is performed and conducted by its economic director, Jeff Martinka. Mr. Martinka is here with us this evening, and he's prepared to give us a summary of what the Economic Development Corporation has accomplished and what its plans are for the future. Ladies and gentlemen, Jeff Martinka.
I don't know how you can expect me to be a distinguished spearhead and then call me Mark Twinka at the same time. I'll do my best to be distinguished in spite of that. I'm ashamed to admit it, now that I live here, that I'm actually not from western Wisconsin. But let me point out some perceptions that maybe will make me a little bit western Wisconsin. When I lived in Milwaukee, I was raised in Milwaukee, I did my undergraduate work there, we always had a notion that Milwaukee was the center of the state of Wisconsin. Of course, once I moved to Madison, however briefly for graduate school, I came to realize that the people in Madison somehow thought that they were the center of Wisconsin. And it wasn't until some years later when I had the chance to move last fall to Pierce County that I realized that a higher being truly had selected what was the center of Wisconsin. It wasn't until the folks from the UFO Site Center began pinpointing Elmwood, Wisconsin here in Pierce County that I realized that regardless of the small minds in Milwaukee and the intellectuals in Madison, those with the higher intellect had truly selected Pierce County as being the center of Wisconsin. I always told myself that I didn't like kids that started with a joke, but that one was on the spur of the moment, so I thought it'd be all right. I have been in Pierce County now for about 10 months. I've been pleased by the ability to work with a broad group of people here in the county, and I can report to you that when it comes to civic-mindedness, broad-mindedness, volunteerism, those types of measures, I've been very pleased by what I've been able to experience in Pierce County. Governor, you'll probably be tired after your week here in western Wisconsin hearing the same sorts of things recited over and over again, but it's only through repetition, perhaps, that knowledge is most deeply ingrained. We do offer natural advantages here in Pierce County. Let me go through a few of them. Here in Pierce County, we're blessed, as you've heard a number of times today, we're blessed with some very, very strong natural advantages. Behind us, of course, is the end of the St. Croix River National Scenic Riverway. Commencing just a little south of here, of course, is the Mississippi River as it borders Wisconsin, and a little further south is Lake Pepin. Those are natural advantages that simply can't be equaled across the state of Wisconsin. Let me link a couple of other things. You can take a metropolitan area of about 2.2 million people that's centered about 30 miles to my rear, and at the same time acknowledge that within 30 minutes in the other direction you can find some of the best trout fishing in the state of Wisconsin. The linking of rural assets and metropolitan opportunities truly is centered here in Pierce County. Some other advantages. Obviously, the same metropolitan area that has fostered growth in St. Croix County can foster growth in Pierce County. There are some very convenient forces at work. Let me outline a few of them. They're called business taxes, labor rates, building costs, land costs, university differences. Those types of advantages here on our side of the rivers, we're hoping will help to boost the future of Pierce County. Now that I've highlighted some of the advantages of being on our side of the river, let me give you some ideas on what Pierce County Economic Development Corporation is about. Pierce County Economic Development Corporation was formed roughly 1 year ago. At that time, a number of factors came together. First, some volunteers started taking time, once a week I understand, Wednesday nights, started taking time to put into place an informal board of directors that later became the formal board of directors of the Pierce County Economic Development Corporation. Those same group of volunteers worked very hard to make sure that there was a funding base available for a public-private partnership to be formed. You folks have probably heard that notion ad infinitum, partnerships and public-private and all that type of thing. But I can tell you that when it comes down to the nuts and bolts of it, with the support from Pierce County at one end and the support from some of our smallest townships at the other, I can talk in terms of a real public-private partnership here in Pierce County. That's going from one extreme at the largest government to the smallest government. Looking at the largest business to the smallest business, I'm pleased to report that there too we have support from small agencies such as dentist office and insurance agencies up to some of our largest employers in the county. Let me give you an idea on some of the projects that we've been working on. To give you an idea of the pace that we've set for ourselves, my board of directors required that we put out an annual report. An annual report, our first annual report after having been only in business for 3.5 months. Some of the projects we've been working on have been very interesting. I think they link some of the factors that we've been talking about. First, I've talked in terms of the university advantages. Here in Pierce County, we do have a major university of the University of Wisconsin system at River Falls. In working with some of the professors at River Falls, we were able to put together a research package for the UW System's applied research project. By linking the expertise of the Ag School on campus with the needs of a particular business here in Pierce County, Bay City business, we were able to tailor-make a research project to meet the needs of that business, a research project that we hope will project that business's future far beyond the current market potential of that company. Let me give you another example that's focusing on the university advantages. We've also highlighted quite a few times our unique advantages in the area of natural resources. In Pierce County, of course, we have a broad variety of different shorelines. Just south of here in Oak Grove Township, there's been a proposal for a resort and conference center development that would offer you the unique advantages posed by the Big River Valley, as well as being only 35 minutes from the St. Paul metropolitan area. In that case, working very closely, sometimes too closely, sometimes utterly too closely with the local officials and citizens, we've been trying to put together a step-by-step staged development plan for the Trumpeter Valley project. It's a project that we hope, if the pieces fall in place, and they have to fall in place at the local level, at the county level, as well as on the private sector level, it's a type of business project involving about 1,400 plus acres, $50 million in proposed development that would uniquely meet the needs of the wallets behind me, as well as hopefully meet the needs of the tax base and job generation here on this side of the river. As a third example, and I'm winding up my examples here. As a third example, let me give you an idea on the advantages we offer in the area of volunteerism. Not too far south of here, down newly dedicated Highway 35 is a community called Maiden Rock. In Maiden Rock, the local school was closed down roughly 8 years ago. What we've been able to do on that project is put together a group of local volunteers that are dedicating their time to forming a development corporation that's proposing to turn the former Maiden Rock School, the school's been closed for about 8 years, into their own Met Center. The Maiden Rock School, in its own scale, can draw population from its region, just as the Dane County Coliseum can draw for the Madison area, and the New Bradley Center can draw in the Milwaukee area. I want to cite it as an example, though, because in a community of 172, we've got roughly, 1.7% of the population working in one capacity or another on the board of directors, and we're able to draw from a strong base of volunteers when it comes to sanding the buildings, sweeping up, scraping down the walls, and we're hoping, again, that it becomes a regional convention center for that part of our county. Mentioning the Dane County Coliseum, I might point out that it might fit real well if there's anyone interested in the locational advantage. That type of design might fit real well for a project we've got planned in Elmwood. Those are only a few of the examples. We've been blessed by having more activity than my staff and bureaus can handle. When it comes to business assistance, we've been very, very pleased by the support we receive from state agencies. Now that Dean has covered all the nasty things, I can just focus on the nice things. Let me give you some examples. When it came to my needing to get 48-hour approval on irrigation permits for a particular Bay City agribusiness concern, I was able to get the Department of Natural Resources to respond in 36 hours to get those permits approved. When it came to my needing to have a person from your Department of Development up to review the potential for Wisconsin Development Fund funding of a particular business, I actually had the person from DOD willing to come sit down in the meeting before I was able to line up some of the local actors. Again, I was really pleased with the response. When it came to not getting the response I needed out of the Army Corps of Engineers for a proposed marina project, it was actually the Department of Natural Resources action that prodded the Army Corps of Engineers to follow through. So there too, we've been very pleased. And then finally, as an example of the active work, again, of your local Department of Development, Vic Grassman in the last 3 or 4 days has gotten himself mentioned more in conjunction with Pierce County activities than I have. Though I may not like it for my ego's sake, it does speak well of your department. And on a final note, this is the last of the how far western Wisconsin is comments. I had the pleasure of taking going with the family, a local family, to an area art fair here a couple of weeks ago, and it portrayed very vividly the distance from my home and from my graduate school days. That the distance from those locations that the western Wisconsin is. When I took Ned up on the merry-go-round, where I was twirling him for a while, and what Ned would do on the approach of any other child who wanted to get up on the merry-go-round is he would quiz them. Where I come from, there is no such thing as twins, outside of maybe twin hot dogs on a special 2-for-1 deal. But what Ned would say to each of the kids as he wanted to get on the merry-go-round is, "Are you a Twins fan or a Brewers fan?" Again, where I come from, there is no Twins, and it clearly illustrates that there's too much of a focus on Minnesota here, and we're looking forward to your visit, changing that a little bit. Thank you.
State Bar of Wisconsin. A month ago, the State Bar contacted me as district governor and suggested that they were going to sponsor this dinner with Governor Thompson. And upon doing so, I asked, why is the State Bar sponsoring a dinner of this nature? And the answers were quick in coming. The State Bar is interested in the process of government.
Governor Thompson, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, members of the bar, and honorable judges. It's a pleasure to be here. Very candidly, I drove up from Madison today. I look forward to coming simply because I did go to college in Eau Claire, and I spent a good amount of time in this area of the state. I've hunted in this area more than on one occasion, and it was a pleasure to come back. Unfortunately, I have to be back in Madison tomorrow morning, so that I really can't stay for a couple of days. But with that aside, I will tell you very candidly that I got very close to coming to northern Wisconsin for the sake of practicing law, for a very special reason. And that reason was very interestingly related to me as the governor and I were talking tonight at the table. And he was surprised to find out that I'm from basically a farming family, and that I'm also from a rural area, and that he was also surprised to find out I went to Eau Claire. But when we started talking about central and northern and western Wisconsin, we realized we had one thing very common, and that was simply the fact that we find the people of this area to be very genuine, very wholesome, and very likable. And it's an area that it's hard not to like. And by the way, before I forget, your mayor deserves some credit. I'm not familiar with the local politics, and I don't mean to step into them, but he has been twisting the governor's arm all day. I mean to say, this whole meal he has been working. And the governor's quite mindful of that. But I drove up from Madison this morning, and I said, all right, I'm happy to talk, I'm happy to come. How long do you want me to speak? And they said, not more than 10 minutes. And I said, that's impossible. No lawyer at a microphone can talk for less than 10 minutes. But I'm going to try to do that. Very briefly, since becoming president of the bar and assuming office in July 1st of this year, I've had an opportunity very profoundly to reflect on the role of lawyers. And one of the things I've done is I've spent a great deal of time focusing on the role of lawyers in their community. Because one of the books that I spent most of my time with recently, and I've been absolutely fascinated with, is a book by late great dean of the Harvard Law School called The Lawyer from Antiquity to Modern Time. And one of the things I realized in the course of reading that and studying that was that at the highest point, and I believe, I mean that sincerely, at the absolute highest point in professionalism, you see a lawyer involved in their community. And you can trace that back to the Greeks, and you can trace that back to the Romans, and you can trace that back to the feudal times. The simple fact is that the lawyer serves best, and the lawyer is most professional when he or she is actively involved in community affairs. I'm going to tell you something very candidly. We have the State Bar of Wisconsin. We have divided the state into 17 or 18 districts. That includes 10,000 resident lawyers of the state of Wisconsin, and includes another 4,500 or so non-resident lawyers, people who live elsewhere but keep their Wisconsin licensure. And for this particular district, there is something that we know very well in the Bar Center, and that we know at our board of directors. We call it the Board of Governors. We know at our board of directors level. And that is that there are certain pockets of lawyering in Wisconsin that are very professional and very respected. And when I say that, I mean the lawyers in Racine and Kenosha, the lawyers in Green Bay, the lawyers in Madison even recognize that there are other pockets of professionalism. And you have one of those pockets here. The lawyers in this community and in this part of the state are very actively involved in the community. They're very actively involved in our bar association. And when they're involved in our bar association, they're involved because we as a bar association are not a special interest group. We are not a trade association. We are an organization that has a number of very specific purposes. And one of those is to elevate standards of professionalism among lawyers. One of those is to serve the public, and one of those is to engage in activities that aim at improving the quality of justice and lawmaking in the state. That's our role. We take it very seriously. The lawyer, thank you. Now, I've been asked a number of times, why does the state bar participate in sponsoring these events? Why does some guy drive up from Madison to help and co-host one of these affairs? And I'll tell you very candidly why. We were there last year when the governor took his entourage to Superior. We were there and we hosted a very similar affair. We're here this year in Prescott. I'm very happy to do it. And I just told the governor that we're absolutely committed, no matter where he decides to go next year, we're absolutely committed on behalf of the Bar of Wisconsin to be there and host a similar affair. And that is because we absolutely believe inside our organization that when people get to know government better, and when people understand government better, the level of respect among the people increases substantially. We happen to believe it's important to bring government close to people, and that's why we believe in a lot of projects that we undertake. Public service, public educational type projects. This is one of the projects that we participate in. We're happy to be in Prescott. And Governor, no matter where you go next year, we're looking forward to greeting you again and inviting the local bar and the community leaders. It's a pleasure to be here, and it's nice to meet you. Thank you.
It's fun for me to be here this evening because I'm a Wisconsin State River Falls alum, University of Wisconsin, now River Falls alumnus, and I see Mr. Gerald Karstens out there as my debate coach, and one of my political science professors, Dr. Raymond Anderson, present. Now, in 1967, when I took Poli-Sci 101, I learned about the three branches of state government, which of course includes legislative, judicial, and administrative. I had no idea how heavy the arm of the administrative branch worked until 5 minutes before I stepped to the podium today, and Governor Thompson came over to our next speaker, who's not listed on your program, the Attorney General Don Hanaway, and he put his heavy arm on him and said, "Don, I'd like you to say a few words." So through the course of dinner, our Attorney General has been writing some notes. I've also learned in visiting with him and having a pleasant dinner conversation that Mr. Don Hanaway was a practitioner in Green Bay for more than 25 years. He lived in De Pere, and he served that community as its mayor. He served in the state senate for 8 years. and he was elected as Wisconsin's Attorney General 18 months ago. It is at this time with pleasure I present to you Wisconsin's Attorney General, Mr. Donald J. Conway.
Because according to my watch, we've got 3 minutes, Governor, and I don't want to infringe on your time. And it is true that the governor had suggested that I say a few words, and that is that John indicated a little dangerous for a lawyer politician. But anyway, let me tell you that I'm from northeastern Wisconsin, and I bring you its best wishes to northwestern Wisconsin, the home of the Vikings and now the Saints. And you heard the one about the Packers and the Barber's daughter. You heard that story? You haven't heard that one, huh? Well, that's where we are, northeastern Wisconsin. I don't tell football stories anymore. I learned my lesson, John and Tommy. I now tell stories about lawyers and politicians. That's safe. It is safe. I remember the story about the 3 people that were arguing about whose profession was the oldest, the doctor, the engineer, and the lawyer. You hear that one? Well, the doctor said that he had irrefutable proof that the medical profession was the oldest because he had read in the Bible that God, at the time of the creation of the world, indeed created woman from Adam's rib, and that was a medical act, and therefore medicine was the oldest profession. The engineer said, ha, wait a minute. I also checked the Bible, and the Bible said, and I have irrefutable proof of this, and you all understand that before God made woman from Adam's rib, indeed, God created order out of all the chaos, and that was an engineering fact. With that, the lawyer popped up and said, that settles it. Who do you think created all that chaos? Very good, John. This is not a political event. There was a Democratic convention, I understand, a week ago. In light of that, I have to say that I'm actually getting old. I'm really getting old because I can remember, I am so old, I can remember when fairy tales used to start out with once upon a time. Well, now they're starting out with when I'm elected, I promise. That's what I got out of that convention. The other one on politicians, if I might just very quickly say, you know what the height of redundancy is? The height of redundancy is airbags in a politician's car. That's for the government. Okay? I'm using up all your time, Governor. The governor had asked me to comment, and let me say, very, very briefly, I do believe that the Wisconsin Department of Justice, the department I had probably, is handling their job in a very professional way. And Mayor, I would tell you, I really appreciated your comments, and I hope you understand that there's a little bit of northeastern Wisconsin involved in northwestern Wisconsin, because I was the one that sponsored the bill that allowed you to have alcohol on your river, along with the Fox River in northeastern Wisconsin. We didn't think 100 passengers was a problem at that time. Bring it back, we'll lower that, I think. Let me say that in closing that I really am very pleased to have the opportunity to be here. I'm very pleased to see that this event is sponsored by the local communities, and I've been very impressed really today and yesterday with River Falls and Hudson and Ellsworth and the sincerity of the people in this area, and obviously the people in Prescott, and that is moved me from being a small town lawyer and a mayor of my community in northeastern Wisconsin, and I'm very pleased to see the community involvement by local businesses, the Pierce County Bank and Trust, the Durant Federal Savings and Loan, and the Economic Development Corporation. But I'm here to tell you that I am especially pleased by the fact that indeed the state bar, my union, the state bar of Wisconsin, indeed is actively participating for the first time in my now 26 years of practice of law in this state, is for the first time involving themselves to the extent and to the level they are, and that's an accolade to the bar, it's an accolade to John Walsh and his presidency, and I don't believe that any of this would have been possible without our governor, Tommy Thompson. Thank you very much.
When I checked that blue book this afternoon, I was surprised to learn that Governor Thompson, like John Walsh, is also a very young man. I was amazed, sir, when I read that you graduated from law school in 1966 at the age of 25, and that same year you were elected to serve in Wisconsin's Assembly. I learned that you served at the state capitol ever since that time, for 20 years following that date, and 2 years ago you were elected as our governor. In addition to your busy agenda as serving as a legislature and a servant of the people, you were a successful practitioner in Elroy, Wisconsin, in your law practice. You served the people in your district with great dedication, and now you serve all of the people of Wisconsin with great distinction. You've invested considerable effort for us in seeing that Western Wisconsin is recognized as an important region. You've invested considerable effort in learning about our problems and our priorities. We're ready to hear your report of the strengths of Wisconsin, of Western Wisconsin. Ladies and gentlemen, the Chief Executive of the state of Wisconsin, Governor Tommy Thompson.
According to my watch, I should say thank you and sit down. I would like to have everybody join with me in thanking the City of Prescott, the State Bar of Wisconsin, the Northern State Power, Pierce County Bank and Trust Company, Ryan Federal Savings and Loan, and the Pierce County Economic Development Corporation, who sponsored this event. Would you help me? It's been a great couple days. I can't tell you how much we've enjoyed it and appreciated the tremendous hospitality we received. Last night, the City of River Falls recruited a bunch of softball stars. After they challenged us to play, they defeated us 18-3. That's the kind of hospitality we get. And that other governor behind me, Burbridge, who is not the governor of Wisconsin, I want everybody together, challenged me to a fishing contest. I'm not saying that I let you down. I apologize. I did not win. I challenged him for a rematch next year, but I do have a little defense, I think, as far as myself is concerned, because I thought we were fishing for northerns and walleyes, and we went out there in good faith. We were trolling and casting with plugs and artificial bait, and Governor Burbridge took worms, a small hook, and a bobber, and caught two small little fish and brought them in. They weren't even alive. And claimed victory because they were fish. I can't deny that he did win, but next year, Dick Rose, we're going to have the rolls down a little bit better. State Bar, I want to thank you so very much. You have been so kind and considerate to travel to Superior and put on a civic luncheon there so that people up there could understand what we were doing in northern Wisconsin. And I want to thank you again this evening. And next year when I go to Elroy, I want to make sure you come. The people in Elroy have never had a free lunch. Don Hanaway, I want to thank you again for being here in Western Wisconsin. I appreciate it very much. Jeff, I certainly accept your accolades as far as the department heads in Madison. I think that the people in Madison, I believe I have assembled some of the finest minds and some of the hardest working people in state government to come out and serve people, and I really appreciate you recognizing that. I attempted to bring in people from outside of government that would be willing to travel and would be willing to respond. And I'm very happy that they are doing that and coming up here and meeting that. And it's awfully nice that you said nice things, and of course, anything that you want from now on. Now for the mayor. Mayor, I want to tell you something. I have listened to you. One rule that you learn in politics: get more by saying something nice than trying to bludgeon somebody to death. The audacity of an individual to invite me to accept 2 pieces of county highway in very poor shape. Separates me from my Secretary of Transportation. I don't know what Ron Feeler you were drinking there. Or smoking. I'm sure it was not legal because I gave him a perfectly good piece of state highway. There were 2 pieces of 4 county highway. Plus I gave him $2.5 million on top of it. Then we took a walk down under this railroad bridge. I wasn't even governor 2 years ago. When you were still mayor, building this bridge that you don't like now, and then have the audacity to blame the state of Wisconsin because you want to do it cheaper than what their engineers thought it should be, and because it now rattles a little bit, it's the state's responsibility. And then a library. He wants a new highway, which so do we, and it's in negotiations. He invites all of the library board, a bunch of little kids there with crying. Mayor, I'm glad you're my friend and not my enemy, but I always question individuals that get up, give the prayer, and halfway through the meal, propose a toast with alcohol, and then lobby for more money. It has been, ladies and gentlemen, an outstanding couple days. And I would like to, at this time, just have my secretaries and people that head the agencies, please stand up and just quickly introduce yourself, and so people here get a chance to meet what I consider just some very outstanding individuals. Please stand up. Start over there in the back with you, Dick Leckie.
Dick Leckie, Commissioner of Banking.
Carol Lee, Commissioner of Savings and Loan.
Ron Feeler, Secretary, Department of Transportation.
You were Secretary of Transportation.
Gus Gusatney, Secretary of the Department of Natural Resources, and I'm here to help you.
Ted Niekma, Executive Director of the Office of Justice Assistance.
Bruno Maurer, Secretary, Department of Development.
Marlene Cummings.
Wake up, Marlene.
Secretary of Regulation and Licensing. Jack Goodrich, Deputy Secretary of Health and Social Services. Connie Beckhack, Secretary of the Department of Employment Relations.
Bob Haas, Commissioner of Insurance.
Since you were here last month, you didn't need to come back.
I would come back, and I'm back.
Howard Richards, Secretary, Department of Ag, Trade, and Consumer Protection.
Grover, Superintendent,
public instruction. Bob Sorensen, State Director of the Vocational Technical System.
Cheryl Popal, Executive Assistant, Public Service Commission. George Case,
David Martin, University of Wisconsin System. John Van Hollen, Governor Thompson's Northern Representative.
I just wanted you to get a chance to see who these individuals are and get an opportunity, if you feel the need to ask them any questions that you might have concerning any of their specialties, except for Ron Fiedler. We had a talk, Ron. I shouldn't give away money too easily, but I want to just say a few words about where we are in the state of Wisconsin and why I think it's so important for us to be here. When I was campaigning in this area, as well as northern Wisconsin, people in Superior had the impression that, first off, governors come and go and candidates come and go, but nobody ever really understands the plight of northern Wisconsin. And I told those individuals in northern Wisconsin that I sincerely would try to be a different type of governor, that I would try and understand their concerns, and that I would be back, not 4 years hence, but I would come back the next year and the year after and try and solve their problems. They had the same type of identity questions as you do as to who was their real governor. Was Governor Burbridge or Governor Thompson? And I think last year we were able to demonstrate to that area that this administration really does care. Cares about all people in all areas of the state of Wisconsin. And I can remember so well staying at the Hudson House one night when I was campaigning for governor on a Saturday evening after I had given a speech in this area, and I woke up on Sunday morning, and I have a very difficult time without starting Sunday morning without reading a newspaper to find out what is going on in the state government. And I went all over the city of Hudson, and I could not find any newspaper in that city that was printed in Wisconsin that dealt with Wisconsin news. And I was disturbed at that time, and I said to myself that if I did get elected, I was going to bring government out here to western Wisconsin, to northern Wisconsin, so that people would have an understanding and have the opportunity to meet with state government and be able to interact and exchange ideas, exchange views, exchange the opportunities as well as work on similar problems. And that's why every year I move state government to a different area of the state. I want to develop partnerships. I want to develop partnerships with your local units of government. All mayors except the mayor of Prescott. County boards, civic boards, state government, employers, employees, educators, tourism officials, farmers, and so on. Individuals that believe the same way that I believe that Wisconsin is indeed a resourceful state. Wisconsin truly is indeed a state that has a higher destiny. A state that is a leader for the rest of the country to follow. And that's the kind of vision that I have for a better tomorrow for all of our citizens, no matter where you live, whether it be Ellsworth or Prescott. With your mayor, you don't need to worry, you're going to go to the top no matter what happens. Elroy or Superior, whatever the case may be. And I think we've done quite well. I think there's a newfound optimism all over the state of Wisconsin. A feeling that, yes, it's time to stand up for Wisconsin. Because I can remember back reading those articles that business people were putting in the newspapers, and some were taking out ads in the Wall Street Journal saying, Wisconsin's an anti-business state. Darwin Smith from Kimberly-Clark moved to Kimberly-Clark headquarters out because he didn't feel that Wisconsin would be a good state for business development. You read those articles, you saw those advertisements in the Wall Street Journal. I thought that was a terrible image for the state of Wisconsin. And we have so much to be thankful for in this state. So much more so than other states. Let's take just for an instance taxes. There was always a criticism of taxes. But what have we been able to do as far as taxes? Income taxes. The state of Wisconsin was the only state last year that was able to reduce their income taxes and maintain the cut. We had the largest income tax cut of any state in the nation. Minnesota, that state that the mayor of Prescott was talking about, raised their income taxes. Corporation income tax is the fourth lowest in the country. Minnesota, one of the highest. Inheritance taxes, and I was talking to the attorney White from this area, who came up and thanked me for it. I wanted to phase out inheritance taxes over 4 years. The legislature wanted to do it over 6 years. We agreed on 5 years. But ladies and gentlemen, what a tremendous incentive to live that long. Capital gains tax. Did anybody in this room ever think that Wisconsin would be a leader as far as capital gains? I never did, and I served in the legislature for 20 years. Do you realize that Wisconsin is not only a leader, it's only one of 7 states that has 60% exemption of capital gains, and what a tremendous incentive for me to sell economic development. What a tremendous incentive for that extra arrow in my quiver to go out to that business person, wherever he may be, to tell those individuals that yes, come to Wisconsin. Come to Wisconsin and develop your business and create your jobs. That's taking place here in your state. That's not taking place in Minnesota. And I was talking to Governor Burbridge today, and he says, you know, we've got to do something because I got too many businesses going to Wisconsin. I got too many students going to River Falls. I got too many visitors and tourists going to Wisconsin. That's because we're doing things together, ladies and gentlemen. We're moving in the right direction. And yes, our transportation, I think, is one of the finest. I think our highways are one of the finest. And education. I know all of us are concerned about education. But it wasn't Minnesota, it wasn't Iowa, it wasn't Illinois. Wisconsin last year was the state that led the nation as far as students taking the SAT and ACT course. That's Wisconsin. #1, ladies and gentlemen. Vocational education, we heard that tonight. Bob Sorensen will tell you that there are 17 states right now in the United States that are trying to emulate and copy what we've got in our vocational education here in Wisconsin. And the University of Wisconsin, what a jewel. One of the finest world-class universities any place in the world is right here in the state of Wisconsin. Last year received more non-defense research dollars than any other public university in the world, was the University of Wisconsin. And last spring I had the opportunity to take 4 professors from the University of Wisconsin as well as University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee out to New York. I took them out there because I wanted people in New York to understand that we are much more than individuals and people that drink beer and eat brats and bowl a lot. I wanted them to understand what we've got going for us in the state of Wisconsin. And we took these 4 professors out and we invited in a lot of the journalists from the greater New York area. And I had a professor get up, Professor John Wiley from the University of Wisconsin, Madison campus. Professor Wiley got up and he said, you know something? That in Wisconsin, we've got a research project, a private-public project between Astronomics, which is a private corporation, and the University of Wisconsin. And we just received a NASA grant for $1 million a year over the course of the next 5 years. And we've got a research project called Mining the Moon. I don't know how many people in this room heard about Mining the Moon. I had not heard about it at that time. But Mining the Moon, we're talking about sending a spaceship to the moon to mine the material up there. And if the moon was made out of gold, it would not be economically feasible to send a spaceship up there. Or it would not be economically feasible to send a spaceship up there for jewels, rubies, or diamonds, or anything like this. But there's a little known gas in this world, in this country, in this world, called helium-3 that's in great abundance around the moon. That is so powerful that one spaceship of helium-3 brought back to the United States could power the whole United States for 1 year. And it would be economically feasible to do that. That's not taking place in North Carolina or in Texas or in Minnesota or in California. It's taking place in the University of Wisconsin. And then there was a professor by the name of Professor Burgess. And we are one of the leading universities as far as biotechnology is concerned. And he got up and started talking about shiitake mushrooms. Coming from Elroy, we didn't have that kind of culinary opportunity, so I didn't understand what shiitake mushrooms, I could hardly pronounce it, let alone spell it. But we served a very small state.
and we put on top of it shiitake mushrooms. They were imported from Japan. It takes 3 years to grow them in Japan. It costs $15 to import them from Japan. We've got a new technology at the University of Wisconsin that we can grow the same mushrooms that taste better out of wood shavings. It takes us 3 months to do it. And we can produce it for $5 a pound. And if everything goes all right, another year from now we'll be exporting to Japanese into the Japan market. That's progress, ladies and gentlemen, and that's taking place here in this great state of Wisconsin. You can tell that I'm very high on Wisconsin and tourism. We have so much beauty. You look around and see the St. Croix River and the Mississippi River. Where can you find anything as beautiful as this? Any place in the country. It's taking place right here. We got more people coming into Wisconsin than ever before. It's because people like you all over the state of Wisconsin are enthused and are optimistic about our future. And that's why we bring state government out here. Because we want to tell you what we're doing in Madison, but we also want to listen to you. We want to hear your concerns, your problems, your unique situations, and see if we can work together to solve it and improve the quality of life for all of our citizens. That's what government's all about. It's trying to make things just a little bit better for all of our citizens. And ladies and gentlemen, in conclusion, I would like to say, it's an honor to be here. It's great to meet such fine people. And I am your governor, and I am in Madison. Thank you so very much.
Good job. Thank you. Mayor Hellshout, you have 1 minute to rebut.
You want me to reread the speech? I just want to take a few moments for some acknowledgments of some things that took place tonight and that was more than welcomed by Prescott and all of those sponsoring parties. I'd particularly like to thank all the state of Wisconsin agencies that have taken part and have brought so much to us. And I especially want to thank Mr. Ron Fiedler for your concerns for Prescott in the area, so thank you. Governor Thompson, in all sincerity, we do love you on this part of the state. We do realize that we are part of Wisconsin. We do appreciate you taking that extra time to bring that government to us, to show us that we are indeed part of Wisconsin, and when we read the paper tomorrow, we can think of Wisconsin instead of reading Minnesota. So thank you for bringing that over here to us. I'd like to particularly thank the Steamboat Inn, especially Russ Swanson, Mike Rowan, for their involvement and everything that it took to place this particular event, to provide all the services and the efforts that were necessary to put together the arrangements. I'd like to thank the Master of Ceremonies, Attorney Garrity, for his time and his efforts and for a job well done. I'd like to thank the sponsors, the City of Prescott, NSP, and especially Dennis Fine for his involvement, the State Bar of Wisconsin, and especially Pat Kelly and Ed Blaine for the time that they met with us and the efforts that it took to put it together, for Pierce County Bank and Trust, and their donations and their times and their efforts, for Durand Federal, and the donations and the time that they took to be part of this particular event, for Pierce County Economic Development Corporation, and for their involvement and the participation in getting the materials out. I'd like to mail right.
I am not related to you, Mayor.
Thank you, Chris. I would like to thank also the Pierce County Sheriff's Department and the Prescott Police for their involvement in a lot of traffic. I'd like to thank the Prescott Public Works because they spent a lot of hours that go unnoticed this week in preparation. Again, thank you all for being here. There was a particular announcement about what was taking place afterwards, and I think that is going to take place on the lower level. Mr. Jim Harrison from the Boundary Commission has a program down there. But there will be time for you to discuss things with the governor, to shake hands for those that didn't have an opportunity. And so please take those moments and those times after we finish here to get involved, to shake hands with the governor, etc. On behalf of myself as Mayor Prescott and my wife Carolyn as host and hostess for this particular event, I thank you all for coming, and I particularly thank Governor Thompson.
All 282 of you are distinguished guests, and it should be noted, introductions weren't it was impossible to introduce everyone. Well, we've come here, we've celebrated, we've learned, and we've done the work of government. God bless you for coming, and thank you.